It is Monday, June 30th, 2025. Welcome back to another edition of Baseball Today. And in the hot seat, we got hot man, Dalton Feely. Back with us again, producer Dan and intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. Shout out Chris Rose. Don't even know if you're alive anymore. But that's okay. We got you covered here, big guy. Can't wait to see you and give you a big hug. Dalt, I appreciate you filling in again. How you doing?
Doing good. We had a lot of good ball this weekend. When Rose gets back, I mean, he's got to treat you to a steak dinner. You are carrying, backpacking baseball today while he's been out. You've been crushing it, Trev, and I'm once again happy to be a part of it.
It's a team effort, and I don't want anything from Chris Rose. He deserves everything in the world. My mentor, my internet dad, my work dad, if you will. We love you, buddy. We're going to start this episode off with a tip of the cap, as we always do. This one a little bit sad. We're talking about Dave Parker, legendary Pirate. He ended up passing away only about a month before being able to see himself inducted into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he knew he was getting in there, but didn't get to make it to Cooperstown. Just this picture right here alone is absolutely classic. If you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys bopping. And bopping, he did surely a 290, 340, 471 over 10,000 career plate appearances, 339 homers, almost 3,000 hits. He got the 27-12, 7 All-Star nods. He won the MVP in 1978, 2-time batting champion, 3-time Gold Glover, a 5-tool threat. And again, it meant so much to the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. You will get your plaque in Cooperstown, my friend. But we wanted to give a little tip of the cap to you and your spectacular career, and our condolences out to the Parker family and all the Pirates organization as well.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, especially for a lot of the younger fans who may not know who Dave Parker is. Whenever you see that picture about me and the boys are bopping, I feel like that's such a famous picture within baseball history. And at least for Dave Parker and his family, he was able to see that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame prior to him going. And like you said, condolences to the Parker family for this untimely passing.
All right, Dalt, let's get started here with our first question. Things have gone from bad to worse for the New York Mets in June. They were swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates over this weekend. They've lost 13 of their last 16 games. They're 1.5 games behind the Phillies in the NL East. A couple things. On Saturday, the Mets had to call a players-only meeting to try and bounce back. Lindor says they don't like to do it all the time. It's not some magic thing that just turns everything around. So clearly there's, some issues going on there. My question to you is, let's go scale 1 to 10. What's your level of concern for the Mets for the rest of the season?
I'm a little scared. I mean, when we talk about a team calling a players-only meeting, things aren't going well in that locker room and that production. Yeah, like you said, getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and no disrespect to the Pirates, that is not one team you want to get swept by, being one of the worst in the league. Getting outscored 30-4, Trev, in Pittsburgh, a franchise record 26 runs being outscored in a 3-game sweep. That is brutal. They started the month 9-2. Okay, you finished the month 3-13. Yeah, I think I'm at a 6 right now. I'm a little bit more concerned because they're 19-5 on the road, Trev. Citi Field has been a magical spot for them so far this season, but so far on the road, if we're talking about being a true contender in this National League, you got to win games on the road. And being swept by Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, not a great sign. And I think the funniest thing is this Mets pitching staff has been struggling. Obviously, you have Tyler McGill, Kodai Senga, and Griffin Canning going on the IL. But you allowed 9+ runs in all 3 games of this series to the Pittsburgh Pirates offense, who had been anemic this entire season. They set an MLB record of not scoring more than 4 runs earlier this season. Never a good sign. The first time the Mets had given up 9+ in 3 straight games since 2007, that's the year where they collapsed and fumbled. And right now they've been doing that too. So I'm a little bit worried about them. They're at a 6. Their offense is still okay. No, they've gone cold, but you have guys like Juan Soto, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. They're dogs, man. I think the bottom of the order has got to pick it up. But that said, I overall worried, but they should still be one of the top contenders in this National League East.
Yeah, I tapped in Jolly Olive, our Mets expert,
Sure.
and I said, hey, man, give me your worry level, scale 1 to 10. He said 6 and mentioned some things that I think are pertinent. They haven't really hit with runners in scoring position lately. A lot of injuries to the starting pitching. Obviously, that's something that they are dealing with right now. the young guys at the bottom of the lineup aren't producing. We've seen that throughout the year as well. My take on it is this. My personal take. I'm maybe a little bit more than a 6. I'll just go 6.5. I'll say I'm a little bit more worried because when we're talking about the Mets, coming into the season, what are we saying? We're like, okay, they're the new pitching factory. They are the new Brewers. They bring guys in, change some things in the repertoire. All of a sudden, Griffin Canning's one of the better pitchers in baseball after being one of the worst pitchers in baseball. But now, I think the narrative has changed to, okay, maybe they aren't these wizards, and maybe it was just a nice year and a half for them pitching development wise. We're getting David Peterson, couple bad starts back to back. Montas had a nice first start, then he gets shelled in this outing. We see the injuries going on here with Canning, with Miguel. Like there are some things going on here that you start to question. Okay, like was that just a magical year and a half run? Or is it just bad luck now? Like the fact that we're even having to ask those questions, I think is pretty telling there. I do still think they're going to be in it just because I think the Phillies are also not a flawless team. I think they're going to have to figure some things out as well. The Braves, we'll see if they can eventually get back into the mix. I don't know. Maybe we should talk more about the Marlins in that division. But I'm a little concerned because I voiced my concerns last year and this year about the starting pitching and just kind of like the pitching in general. And they shut me up for a while, but now it's kind of coming to a head. They were only better than my Minnesota Twins as far as pitching ERA in the month of June. And I'm going to tell you something about my Twins in the month of June. It was disgusting. It was terrible. The starting pitching has been horrible, and they're just a tick above where my Twins are at. So I guess time will tell if this is just a little blip on the radar or if this is the Mets, maybe they didn't get it all right. Time will tell that. Jolly did say, we'll be more concerned post All-Star game if it continues.
Okay.
So he's concerned, but still willing to give the Mets a little bit of breathing room here.
Yeah, I just think it's funny looking at the player meeting narrative for the New York Mets because last year they did it in 2024 right after that Dodgers series. They were not even close in the playoff picture at that point.
They went off.
They're 48, I believe 48 and 36 right now, 1.5 out of the division lead, like two completely different situations. And I know Lindor said it's not about this magic of the player meetings, but who knows? Maybe they, right after that meeting, outside of that Sunday game, something clicks for them because they've been struggling since that June 13th game.
Yeah, I don't want people. I understand. Like, I do think this is going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be one of the best 6 teams in the National League. But I think they're going to have to go approach that the starting pitching trade market aggressively. Yeah. I think if there's one team that needs to do it, it's going to be the New York Mets.
Bottom 2 in ERA and WHIP, like you said, Trev, not good for that rotation.
Let's move on to the NL Central. And this one's kind of like a more feel-good story. It started to heat up. 4 teams are within 5 games of each other for the division lead. There's 4 teams in that division over 500 as well. Here's how the standings go right now. Cubs 49 and 35. Brewers 47 and 37. They're 2 games back. Cardinals 47 and 38. They're 2.5 games back. And the Reds 44 and 40. They're only 5 games back in the division right now. They're close in the wild card as well. My question to you is, do you think the NL Central will remain this close throughout the year? And which team do you think will win the division?
Oof. I mean, NL Central's been really, really competitive. Semi-surprising going into this year. I think it will remain competitive because I do think the Reds are for real. I think Terry Francona is one of the better managers in baseball. And I know you don't believe in all the managers like they do super much and a lot. But I think Francona is one of those like elite guys that can control a clubhouse and get his guys to play better. But NL Central, I'm still sticking with the Cubs. They had their struggles in June too. Maybe not as bad as the Mets like we talked about previously. Going 13 and 13 so far in June, not great. Their record since June 1st compared to the entire NL Central. The Cubs went 13 and 13, dead last. Even the Pirates, who were 14 and 13 in June, had a better record. I do think going to the trade deadline, I think that is the biggest thing will dictate this NL Central race because the Brewers and the Cardinals were 2 teams that I don't think many teams or even themselves thought would be in a position to win the National League Central. The Cardinals added just Phil Maton this offseason. I think they were starting to shed some of their veterans like Gibby, Lance Lynn in that rotation. And all of a sudden, they've had some guys pop off this year. Brewers, their pitching magic, like you alluded to, it continues to work with like guys like Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick. But if the Cubs add a starter, that top three is one of the best in baseball. If they add a late inning reliever to mix in with Daniel Palencia, I think but that bullpen is very sturdy. And that offense is still top five and everything. They had a rough June. I think the Chicago Cubs are the premier second premier team in the National League. I think they'll be fine. Just a rough patch. The Cubs will still win the division.
All right. I'm going to say, I don't know, man.
Oh, Trev!
First of all, 3 National League Central teams are in the playoffs as of today. Milwaukee and St. Louis hold the second and third spots in the wild card. The Cincinnati Reds are 2.5 games out of a spot. I think if I had to pick right now, and this is, look, the trade deadline is going to obviously impact this discussion, but like as currently, like the current rosters right now, if we just played the season out with the same rosters, I think the Brewers end up winning the NL Central.
Okay.
I do. I think that they have so many ways to beat you, Dalt. Okay, you talked about Quinn Priester, what he's been able to do. What about Jacob Mizorowski, who looks, and I've said this on the show, and I don't think this is a hot take. I think we're going to start mentioning him like along the lines of Paul Skeens. Like this guy has that type of stuff. Now, you know, the knock was always, can you throw strikes? He's been able to do that so far to start his big league career. And if you just watch him throw, you understand what I'm talking about. There's not many guys with stuff like this in the big leagues. So all of a sudden, they got this guy who can absolutely be a true ace. Okay, so you have the pitching. Go look at the back end of their bullpen as well. Like they got a bunch of different ways to get you out. Lefties, righties, guys that throw hard, guys with swing and miss. They also play excellent defense. They're supposed to be a run prevention team. Okay, so they have the pitching, they play defense, but the things that are going to keep them from slumping are the team's speed, the way they take extra bases, the way they move runners, the at-bats up and down the lineup. They're going to have productive quality at-bats all the way up and down the lineup. And I think early on in the season, they got away from it a little bit, and that's when Murphy was getting on them and bench Sal Frelick for not running balls out. Had the team meetings, all these things. We're like, what the hell is going on in Milwaukee? But he was setting the tone, dude. And he set the tone. They're a team, in my opinion, if they stay healthy, like they have enough pop in that lineup. That's going to be the knock against them is lack of pop, but they steal bags.
Right. And
they take the extra base. So kind of makes up for the pop. But they just like team speed, team defense doesn't slump. Like they're going to keep themselves in every single baseball game. And if you can keep yourself in every single baseball game, that's when you start to rack up series wins. Whatever the Cubs may do, great. I love watching the Cardinals for a lot of the same reasons. I like watching the Brewers as well. Like they're getting contributions 1 through 9 in their lineup right now. That's been awesome to see. They got Sonny Gray throwing 89 pitch complete games. Like their veterans are taking a stand there and doing really well. Cardinals, I think, are a really fun watch. I think the Brewers are just doing it just a little bit better than the Cardinals, and they have just so many ways to beat you. So I think if we had only the current rosters, I think the Brewers end up catching the Cubs, and I think they end up winning the division. I really do. I'm that impressed with the Brewers.
Trev, I think we should have a little bit of a wager on this. I think Cubs Brewers next time at the end of the season, next time we see each other, I think a little bit of a potential dinner because I think the Cubs are the second or third best team in baseball. I love that lineup so much. And you talked about defense for the Brewers. Like this outfield is one of the best defensive outfields in baseball.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're great. I'm not trying to take away from the Cubs. I'm just saying I think the Brewers have more ways to beat you than almost any other team in all of baseball.
Okay. Gut feeling, how many teams of the NL Central make the playoffs?
2.
I also think 2. I think the Cardinals fall out. That's just my personal opinion. I don't trust them yet. They've been playing great, but I think the Cubs are number 1, Brewers are 2. And I hope the Reds stay in this race because they've been really good. They were electric versus the Padres this weekend too. So shout out Reds. Hopefully they stay in it.
Yeah, maybe one team's going to be in the wild card from the NL East.
Yeah, you
You
would think.
gotta assume one is going to be there from the West as well. I'm banking on the Padres or the Giants to be there, and then that would leave one spot.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be the Snakes. But I think 1-1-1.
You know what else is 101, Dalt?
What's that?
Olipop.
Mm.
Today's episode is sponsored by Olipop. Got one right here. Check that out, people. Got the cream soda. 2 out of 3 Americans say they suffer from digestive issues, and 95% of Americans don't get the daily recommended amount of fiber. Olipop is tackling both of these issues with a drink that tastes just like soda. Taking care of your microbiome may be one solution to your digestive problems. Prebiotic fiber is the food source for the beneficial probiotic bacteria in your gut, and Olipop has 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can that can help support your digestive health. Olipop has delicious, nostalgic flavors like vintage cola, classic root beer, orange squeeze, classic grape, strawberry vanilla, cream soda, and cherry cola. Get a free can of Olipop when you buy any 2 cans of Olipop in store, and we'll pay you back for one. This works on any flavor, any retailer. To check it out yourself, go to drinkolipop.com/baseball today. That's drinkolipop.com/baseball today. I got a little story about Olipop. I was out on the Minnesota lakes with a bunch of kids, and I ordered some Olipops to the house. They loved it. Get them off the soda, put them on the Olipop, less sugar, better for their gut health. I love me some Olipop.
Right on, Trev. Right on. I love me some Olipop too.
I need to get you on Olipop.
Yeah, that's like one of my big vices is soda. So Olipop, it's been good to mix in it. It's been my change up. I got to make that my fastball, Trev. I got to do it more and more.
You gotta make it your fastball.
I know.
Speaking of fastballs, you like a guy that from the left side that can throw it 100 miles an hour? I bet you do, because Tarik Skubal threw another gem against my Twins, and it wasn't particularly fair at all. 7 shutty. He struck out 13. It's his 10th win on the season. He's leading the AL in most pitching categories. His 2.15 ERA, though, Dalt, it's actually 5th best in the AL because DeGrom, Crochet, Max Fried, and Hunter Brown are all ahead of him. So my question to you is, of those 4 names, DeGrom, Crochet, Max Fried, and Hunter Brown, who do you think has the best shot to take him off the Cy Young throne?
So, I mean, this guy was my player of the week last week, or my Bosch player of the week last week in Hunter Brown. And I do think Hunter Brown would give Tarik Skubal his best run for his money. But I have a different statement, Trev. I'm calling my shot. It might not be that bold. I don't think any of these guys are going to dethrone Tarik Skubal. I think Skubal's just been that good this season. And give credit, Hunter Brown, I believe, is the ERA leader in the American League right now, and maybe even in Major League Baseball as well. But man, what Skubal's doing right now, it was electric last night, Trev. The Tigers' first Sunday Night Baseball game since May of 2017. You have your ace. He shoved 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 13 Ks. That's what baseball needs, right? On prime time, you have one of the best stars, one of the biggest and best pitchers in baseball, goes out and shoves. Sorry that it's against your Twins. No pitcher in the American League has won back-to-back Cy Youngs in the American League. And I'm going to say it again, Trev. I think it's going to happen this year. Tarik Skubal, man. He has 3 career games of 13 plus Ks, under 95 pitches. That's the most since pitch tracking has started in baseball history. Skubal is just one of these guys, dude. He is a freak of nature. I think my favorite thing is he's the 4th left-handed pitcher ever to have multiple games of 13 plus Ks, no runs allowed, 2 hits or fewer, 7 innings in baseball history. Last guy being Chris Sale, Randy Johnson, Sandy Koufax. Pretty good company. I think it's so hard to dethrone this guy, Skubal. And he just has so much fun. You saw him with your guy, Byron Buxton, yesterday, too, having a good time when he thought he took him deep, and then the wind kind of knocked that down. Tarik Skubal, freaking nature. He's going to win the Cy Young, and no one's going to dethrone him.
So you're saying nobody? You can't do that.
I
Chris
did.
Rose would be so mad at you.
That's why you're not Chris Rose. That's why you're the guy, Trev. I said I gave you my answer, and I gave you a little bit of runaround Sue with Hunter Brown and go, Tarik Skubal. No one's dethroning him. It's plain and simple. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. I think Skubal is going to win the Cy Young. And so I started, but I want to answer the question.
I did too. I just didn't show my work. Big difference.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
I like Hunter Brown. I think he's great. But you just put up Max Fried?
Dan.
Dan just put up Max Fried. If you're podcast only, just put up Max Fried on the screen. I haven't even told you who I'm picking yet.
That's your guy.
It is Max Fried, though.
There it is.
I'll tell you why. I'm a quality start guy. I'm a quality start guy. And right now, even though it's very close, Max Fried has more quality starts than any of the other 4 pitchers with 13. Now, I think Crochet has 11 and Hunter Brown has 12. So it's right there. But what Max Fried has done as a stopper this year has been incredible. And the fact that he plays for New York, I think it shouldn't mean anything. Okay, don't come at me in the comments. I just think it does for whatever reason. Okay, like big market guy, and he's my guy. If there's one guy I think can do it, I don't really have a good reason. I went for my quality starts. All of those guys have had blow up starts, about 1 apiece. Max Fried's not immune to that either. But 13 quality starts, I'll take it. So I'm going Max Fried there, although I do agree with you. We'll circle all the way back and say I think Tarik Skubal is going to win. And he might win it unanimously again because he's been that freaking dominant this year.
I mean, poor Garrett Crochet, who's also having a huge season for the Boston Red Sox, being strikeout dominant. But that said, I just think Tarik Skubal has been the better version of Garrett Crochet. And I think the biggest difference is the whip. Tarik Skubal leads the league in whip sub, I think 0.9 at this point, where Crochet is a little bit higher. Skubal's not letting guys on base, even though Crochet's punching a little bit more tickets.
Right now for American League F4, it's Scoobs with a 4.3. It's Crochet with a 3.4. Then it's Hunter Brown with a 3.0, and then Max Fried with the 2.9. In case you're into that.
Oh, I'm into it. I'm a B War F War kind of guy. Any type of those baseball wars. Let's go.
And FIP, Skubal's running away with it. Expected FIP, Skubal's running away with it. Expected ERA, Skubal's running away with it. It's something different there. And maybe it should be Hunter Brown. Maybe it should be Hunter Brown just because the Astros and they're just sneakily, have the second best record in all of baseball.
Maybe there's voter fatigue. Who knows?
Jeez, I don't know if I answered that question greatly. I don't know, but I just went with Max Fried, and I think in the end, we really just wanted to talk about how nasty Tarik Skubal is. There was a slow-mo on a changeup last night that he threw, and Cohen was like, "Look at that rotation on that thing," and it is true. It's like these guys now they understand what the ball is supposed to look like coming out of their hand, and he just had like the perfect changeup rotation on it. And that's that's just because he's been in front of the cameras throwing and getting that pitch nasty. But you just think about a guy like that, all arms and legs, big dude, 100 miles an hour in the tank, being able to throw the combio as well. Like it's last night it was unfair for my Twins, Dalt.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when I think Buster Olney was talking to AJ Hinch, and he was talking about the tunneling of the fastball versus the changeup. And then as Hinch was mentioning about how the changeup could be the best pitch in his repertoire, he threw a nasty one. I forget it was to who. Outside, probably was a right-handed batter to the left, and it landed from the left-handed batter's box, just dropped off. It's gross. Like, how do you face him?
He's absolutely filthy. Okay. Talking AL, we're talking pitchers. Let's move on to the AL wild card. The hunt is heating up. This is an interesting question to me. I don't know exactly how hot it is. It's heating up. It doesn't mean it's hot.
Simmering.
It went from ice cold to like maybe lukewarm. It's room temperature right now because the AL is mid at best. 7 AL teams currently within 4.5 games of the final AL wildcard spot. We got the Mariners at 43-40. They're the only team above 500 in this exercise. Then you have the Angels, the Rangers, the Guardians, the Red Sox, and we're still throwing the Twins and the Royals in this conversation because they are within 4.5 games of that last wild card spot. My question to you is, if any of them, who are you most confident in to make a run and make these playoffs?
We did mention the Mariners, and I think they should be the favorite. But going out of the teams that aren't in this slot right now, I think I'm going with the Boston Red Sox. And maybe it's just I'm going back to my old ways and being tricked. It's like I said in the beginning of the season, I thought they'd be one of the best teams in the American League, potentially represent the American League in the World Series. But they've had their struggles since trading Rafael Devers. They've lost 7 of their last 8. They've lost 3 straight series. They're back to 3 games under 500. But Trev, even without Rafi Devers, I like this lineup still. They have a plethora of outfielders that could just swing it and play defense within Willie Abreu, Jarren Duran, Ceddanne Rafael. And some of those guys, especially Jarren Duran, hasn't really broken out in terms of having a good offensive season like we've seen. I think the biggest stat for me with the Red Sox, Their pitching has been struggling. Giolito is starting to bounce back. Obviously, Crochet's having a great season, as we mentioned previously. But the Red Sox are 10-5 against top 10 teams in scoring offenses. So the pitching has been a problem. But guess what? When they're playing teams that also could swing the bat a little bit, they've been winning these games at a 6.67 clip. Like that is their positive regression. They are 9-19 in one-run games, Trev. 9-19, and sometimes that is indicative to luck. Other times it's like, hey, we're gonna bounce back, and we've had some bad luck in these close games. I don't know, man. I truly believe the Red Sox, they should be better than what they are at right now. And even without Rafael Devers trading him to the Giants, I think something's going to click for them, whether it's in that rotation, whether they make a move at the deadline, whether it's Bregman coming back from the IL, something's going to click for this Boston Red Sox team and they'll make a run.
I like that answer, Dalt, because I too still like this team, although some of the offensive numbers, as you mentioned, after the Devers trade have been pretty bad for them.
Yeah.
But I look at this team and I like them. I think there are areas they could add. I don't think the Mariners should actually be an answer in this one because they are above 500. They're right there. And I've watched the Mariners up close now for 2 different series. And there's a formula there. We obviously know about the pitching. I think the starting pitching is there, and the back end of the bullpen has some guys that can really bring it, although Munoz has showed a little bit of cracks as of late. Mm-hmm. They're bottom of the lineup. It's kind of like that's the secret sauce for them. If they just need the bottom of the lineup to do something. Ken Zone's actually been pretty good for them. And when they do have contributions from the bottom of the lineup, like Mastrobuoni this weekend, like they're going to win games. So I don't think they should be a part of this. So you're going Red Sox. Mm-hmm. Other teams I mentioned, I think Mariners are the right answer, but let's get off of them.
I would agree with you. Yes.
You went Red Sox. I'll go Rangers. And, I think we say the same thing about them pretty much every time we talk about them, but it's the truth. Right now, Dalt, starting pitchers, first in ERA, second in WHIP. Bullpen, fourth in ERA, fourth in WHIP. Like the pitching has been absolutely elite. And then you get to the offense, and I don't understand. There's like articles written about how Globe Life now, is that what it is? Globe Life?
Yes.
I think so.
Yep.
Globe Life now is playing just incredibly tough on hitters, which might explain some of these numbers we're seeing from the pitching staff. But the offense is atrocious. 28th in average, 29th in OBP, 28th in OPS, 25th in runs, 20th in homers. They have not showed up. And if you just look at the stats, they have 5 guys with an OPS plus over 100. 5 guys in their entire lineup. Only 1 guy with an OPS above 772. And that's Evan Carter, who only has 113 plate appearances on the year. He's got an 816. So Corey Seager and Josh Smith, who are the guys that have the most, playing time and at bats, 772 OPS. You can't win ball games like that. The offense has been absolutely atrocious. Adolis Garcia, 646 on the year. Don't even get me started. Marcus Semien, 642. Jonah Heim, 620. Like these are guys that were supposed to carry this offense, and they just haven't been there. So to me, I'm like, if they just turn it around, that's it. There's one thing that needs to happen for the Rangers, and it's just hit better. So whenever you're talking about that, I'm like, okay, that could turn around. We can regress to the mean. They can become a league average offense. And if they become a league average offense, the wins will start to pile up. Maybe it won't happen because maybe the field is cursed and there's going to be no offense there this year. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think you gave the right answer. If we take away the Mariners, I think the Red Sox are there, and then it's the Rangers. And then the rest of the teams, I really have no faith in any of them.
Yeah, and you had mentioned before starting the show today that there are flaws within the rest of these teams that are under 500 in that American League wildcard hunt. The one thing I just wanted to touch on really quickly, the Rangers, I guess the double-edged sword of the difficult hitting in Globe Life Field is the pitching has been dominant. And maybe that's why you have guys like Patrick Corbin and Jack Leiter lighting it up when they've had struggles in the past.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on.
New Seattle. I don't know.
Chris Young has said they have tested everything from what windows to open. They're looking at the humidor. They're trying to figure all these things out, and they just haven't been able to do it offensively. So maybe you never know. They can figure it out.
Cleveland changed their stadium too last year. It worked for them. It could work for the Rangers upcoming?
Oh yeah, just knock out an entire section of your seeding and things will change. Although it hasn't really helped the Cleveland Guardians this year.
Not this year, right?
Although they're 2.5 games out of a wild card spot.
They need J-Ram in the bang. That's it.
Okay. We're going to end our show with kind of a more fun question. We had some fun things happening over the weekend. Shohei Ohtani, he threw a career-high 101.7 mile per hour fastball. It's the fastest of his career. It's the fastest pitch by a Dodger this season. Okay, so we had that go on. Again, he's still working his way back to throwing multiple innings. James Wood was intentionally walked 4 consecutive times in Sunday's games. The Angels like to intentionally walk people, even without Ron Washington. Shout out Ron. Tip the cap to Ron a little bit as well, as he's not going to be back this season. So we're sending great vibes to him. But he started off the year. Who was he intentionally walking? It was Aaron Judge, wasn't it?
Oh,
They had a little back and forth early on in the year. They're playing that game, and it's working for them. 4 consecutive walks. And then how about this? The Marlins, with an undefeated road trip, they've won their 7th straight game, swept your Snakes in very impressive fashion. So I guess my question to you is, which of these scenarios, these feats, were you most impressed with this weekend?
I'm not going to be a bitter Snakes fan. Shout out to the Marlins. Shout out to Shohei Ohtani on the Dodgers. I mean, both impressive stuff on their own right. But, dude, we got to talk about James Wood. I mean, intentionally walked 4 straight at-bats, first time since Barry Bonds in 2004. 6th player since 1965 to be intentionally walked 4 times in a game. Here's the biggest thing, Trev, from all this. The list of guys, right? It's James Wood, Barry Bonds, Roger Maris, Gary Templeton, Manny Ramirez, and Andre Dawson. The youngest guy of that group when they were intentionally walked 4 times in a game was Manny at 29. James Wood is not even 23 years old yet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is impeccable. And I understand the Nationals lineup isn't filled with bashers this season outside of maybe Woods and Abrams. That said, man, you're not even 23 years old and you're getting a tip of the cap. Mind you, James Wood is not a guy who is going to be an NL outfielder to start the All-Star game this year, which I think is completely outrageous. Should be at a bare minimum be a finalist for the vote. But at least he's getting the respect around the league saying, hey, we don't want to face you in these big spots with runners in scoring position because you know what? You're a dog. You can smash the ball around the park. James Wood, I mean, flat out, super impressed. And obviously the Angels were impressed. They didn't want to face him.
Love me some James Wood. Love me some Shohei Ohtani. But there are times where you need to give a certain team some shine throughout the year. And right now the time is that for the Miami Marlins. As I mentioned, 7 straight wins. They take a series from Atlanta in Miami, and then they have an undefeated road trip. They go into San Francisco, sweep. They go into Arizona and sweep. And the numbers don't lie. This is an offensive juggernaut right now, Dalt, okay? Over those last 7 wins, 8.2 runs per game. So if you could just do that every single game, things are going to be easy for you, okay? Marlins, just do that. Okay. And they've had some really fun guys, come to life. I didn't know Dane Myers was 29. That was not on my bingo card. I thought he was a young guy, got the call up late. We've seen him do things out there defensively, Dalt. But did you know he's got a 772 OPS on the year? Because I didn't know that. So that's great. We're talking a guy that goes and gets it out there in center field. How about Otto Lopez? Okay. Starting to play a little bit of shortstop there for them as well. He's got his OPS plus up to 99 with some really nice defense. So he's doing it. We know about Agustin Ramirez. I dread him behind the plate, but he's been a hitter. 790 OPS on the year. He's only 23 years old. So they have some guys. Liam Hicks, their catching tandem has been pretty damn good. Liam Hicks with a 797 OPS. So they're doing it. They're scoring a bunch of runs. They have been fun. They were the walk-off kings earlier on the year. Now we're getting the 7-game winning streak, undefeated road trip. Sometimes you just got to shine a little bit of light on these teams. So shout out to Marlins. Ease up on my Twins. You're playing my Twins now at home. Just relax a little bit, okay?
Good for the Marlins fans, too. First winning month since May of 2024. So shout out Marlins. I'm going to have nightmares about them after the series versus Diamondbacks, but shout out the Marlins.
And, of course, that Diamondback series is a bunch of back and forth, late inning disasters. That's been the Diamondback season to a T, hasn't it?
Never a normal game out in the desert.
Come on, Tim Tawa. You don't got to hit into a double play. That was a nice double play, by the way.
I will say, I said if this game ended 9-7, I was going to be very upset. They lost 9-8. So Go figure.
Okay. That's going to do it for our episode today. I'm not sure who's going to be on with me tomorrow, but I believe, Dalt, you're back on later this week as well. People love you. The people love Dalt. Every time you come on, the comment section says more Dalt, and I agree with them. So thank you again. So for Dalton Feely, for super producer Dan Rourke, and intern Sawyer, I'm your host, Trevor Plouffe, and we will see you tomorrow on Baseball Today.